17-year-old girl doesn't understand risks like you do, and she may not understand why you're being strict. She doesn't need to understand, because she cognitively cannot understand the dangers that she faces getting into a car that you can. So that's why you need to protect her from herself.
You mentioned in the book the boundaries make her feel loved. Explain that to viewers and listeners.
Absolutely. A study was done of some young men in prison in their 20s, and they looked at what was the common factor that all of the men had in common that landed them in prison. And all of them, 100% of the inmates said, when we were in our teen years, no one cared enough to say, stop it. Telling kids, this is as far as you can go, you can't do this, makes them feel loved, because remember, teenagers aren't cognitively fully mature. They feel a sense of feeling out of control anyway, and boundaries make them feel that even though they feel out of control, someone is, and that is safe. And then they feel safe, they can let down, they can be who they're going to be. But if they need to be in charge and make decisions, and they can run around all night, they feel very unloved, very destabilized, out of control, and it's really boundaries that keep them out of trouble and make them feel loved and safe.
But before we go to a break here, you mentioned at one point that it's so imperative that fathers teach their daughters humility. Now, this is something we're hearing from nowhere. If anything, we're hearing, teach your daughter to be self-empowered, self-assured, give her that confidence and that self-esteem she needs to really get ahead in the world. You say, teach her humility. How do you do that? Why is it important?
Well, humility is extremely important because I think, and on a couple different levels, first of all, humility is very biblical. I think that anybody who understands the character of God and wants to be a servant understands that God is the ultimate authority and power, and we are made in His image, and we are here to serve Him. Secondly, I think that one of the great downfalls of this generation of parents is that what we call in the medical profession hyper-parent. We tend to make our kids the center of our homes. We have mothers go off with Susie to a soccer game while dad goes off with Billy to a hockey game, and the family falls apart. Kids who feel that they are the center, they are above, they have more power than anyone else in the family, again, feel very off-center, very disconcerting and very confusing. And I finally think it's extremely important to teach kids how to serve, how to understand who their fellow human beings are. They are not better, they are not less than. They are equal, but they are there to serve other people. This gets a very egocentric kid out of who she is, looking at the world around her, and that's when she really begins to understand what her character is all about. She doesn't find it out by looking inside and, you know, trying to play the flute better and the piano better and be better at soccer. She really begins to understand what her character is all about when she learns to serve other people, and that only comes through the teaching of humility.
And how would you suggest fathers implement that? What tangibly can they do to inculcate this value?
They can find a local habitat for humanity. They can find a soup kitchen. They can find one of thousands of missions in different countries in the United States. They can sign themselves and their daughter up, and they go. Serve alongside of her. Don't just push her out the door and say, okay, go off on your mission trip, kid. Take her with you. And you don't even have to say a word. Take her with you and serve at the soup kitchen. And she will know exactly what's going on. And humility will come. Humility will come.
We're going to take a quick break. Dr. Meg Meeker, thank you so much for being with us. Much more ahead. You fathers listening, we're going to talk to Dr. Meeker and get her advice on how to talk to your daughter in language that she understands. When the World Over Live continues, Dr. Meg Meeker, author of Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live on this Father's Day weekend. We're talking with Dr. Meg Meeker. She is the author of what is now in paperback. It was a hardcover, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, 10 Secrets Every Father Should Know. She's sharing some of those secrets with us via satellite from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Dr. Meeker, thank you for staying with us. You mentioned in your book, be the man that you want her to marry. Why do you say that? And how can a father tangibly do that?
Well, that's the tricky part.
That isn't it?
Yeah, it's the tricky part, and a lot of men look at that and think, oh my gosh, but a lot of women who read the book, older women, go, you know, that's exactly right. Many times, the most important thing for a father to do in a home is to model great character. Sounds very intimidating, but any man can do it. Be honest, be authentic, be courteous, be humble yourself. Take good care of your kids. You know, kids know if you're buffaloing them or if you're not. And I think that they're, you know, having a child in the home, particularly a daughter who is watching you intently, is kind of like living with a mirror, following you around everywhere you go. You see your behavior mimicked in her. Why do I say be the man you want your daughter to marry? Human beings psychologically perpetuate not what we know, not what we want. And many girls marry into a situation, an emotional situation that they're very comfortable and familiar with. This is why so many girls who've been abused by dads or been screamed at, hit, whatever, end up marrying abusers, because even though the situation feels awful to them, it's what they know. It's what they've grown up knowing how to do, and they perpetuate that. In order to break free from that, a girl has to really do some serious soul searching and has to honestly have some professional help to break those feelings and reactions to certain feelings also. So, you know, that's a pretty tall order for men, because many fathers will want their daughters to marry a man who may be a little bit better than they are. I think that's a loving, natural thing to do. But to understand from your daughter's standpoint, she's watching every move you make, and she's attaching to it, and she will live it back out again in another man. So watch what you're doing very, very carefully.
And I imagine the interaction with your wife and the family and co-workers, that's also very important.
Extremely important, because she will derive, your daughter will derive her sense of value according to how you treat her and how you treat her mother. That's how much power a dad really has, that he has no clue he has. My father, my own father, and I write about this in the book, said a few things that changed my life, and to this day he doesn't remember saying them, because I was watching and I was listening to his tone of voice when he talked to my mother, his tone of voice when he talked to me. So your daughter's like a little spy into your soul, you know, and it's a little bit disconcerting, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful thing that a dad needs to understand about himself.
There was a stunning little bit of advice here to fathers that I want to share with the audience and get you to explain.